Hey, good day, good day. This is Robert Brown with the Rob Report. How you doing today? Uh, I got a lot of things I'm going to cover today. It is late, and I was going to go on live, but I'm not trying to compete with Tim Black and a couple other people because it is Monday. But what I want to talk about today is very important, especially to the Black community, because you're about to get hoodwinked, bamboozled, tricked, and it's going to be your own fault. I want you to recognize something today, and let me pull this up because it is important that you begin to see this, okay? All right. Give me a moment. You see that right there? Lift every voice. The Biden plan for Black America. Now, there's a segment of the Black community called ADOS. I am a part of the ADOS community. And the ADOS community is pretty much saying no tangibles, no Black vote, no Black agenda, no support for reparations in the tune of 10 trillion plus, 10 to 12 trillion plus. Can't say you ain't got the money because you just gave out money to all these corporate numbnuts out here, and you gave out the money to every community that you can think of right now during this COVID crisis. So you can't tell us you ain't got the money. You didn't do a study for it. You didn't study to hand out all these welfare checks to all these major corporations like the airline industry, et cetera, and et cetera. So you got the money. So the ADOS community is saying, look, no Black agenda, no support for reparation of 10 to 12 trillion dollars, no vote. Now, is everybody Black on that vote? No, you got some sheeps, some plantation owners, thinkers, who's on the Democratic and the Republican plantation, and they just follow the leader. They just follow their white masters. Whatever the white master tell you to do, we're going to do it. Because that white master do have some interest in us, and that white master have not showed you no interest. Now, it's not just the white masters now. You got the Black bootlicks, the people that work in the field Negro, the house Negro, that's always trying to control the field Negro. People like James Clyburn and all them. Those are house Negroes trying to control the Negroes on the field. And they're using this man, or this man is using them to get your vote. Yeah, that's right. Both of them doing it. Trump and Joe Biden are using Black leaders to try to conjure up votes from you to win this election. And when both parties have not done nothing for you in the past 50 years, for you, Black, took care of the gay community, LGBTQ, they got some rights. Latinos, they got some rights. Matter of fact, they're going overboard for Latinos. Overboard. But when it comes to you, if you start talking about reparations and all that, they want to shut you up. If you want to talk about Black agenda, they want to shut you up. Or they figure we'll give you a little crumbs from the table and you'll be satisfied. It remind me of the time of slavery when they gave us the scrap of the pork or the scrap of the beef, of the pig or the cattle. We just settled for it because it was better than nothing, and we grew our own vegetables. But we didn't have our own cows. We didn't have our own pigs. We got the scraps. So here we are. We got a predominantly white society with wealth up to, with 99% of the wealth goes to white people. And only 1%, probably I say give it 5%, goes toward the Black community. Yet it was whites who brought us here to this country and Blacks who built this country. Even Blacks had the blueprint for this country. You think white people came up with the blueprint for this country? Do your history. Majority of the great innovations from the beginning, from the moment we stepped here into this society to now, came from Black people. Now, I'm not saying white society don't contribute. White society have their part they play. The point is we both had a part in playing of developing this country into what Trump would try to say great. But there's no true equality between whites and Blacks. Now, a lot of people say, Rob, why you don't talk about the murders that's been going on between whites and Blacks? There's a whole bunch of other people talking about that. And I am going to talk about that because it's very sensitive to me. I'm a Black man that believes in the Second Amendment rights. I live in New York, and they don't allow us to exercise our Second Amendment rights. It's hard to get a gun here in New York City to protect your family or protect your loved ones. Yet here I am. I live in a predominantly white neighborhood, and I could be walking down in the middle of the night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, with my mask on my face and a hoodie over my head, and the cops gonna drive by, and I could get shot for no reason at all. I can show them I live in the area, and they still won't believe me. What does this have to do with the Biden plan for Black Americans? I'm going to show you. We're going to comb through this plan. And as I comb through this plan, I realize this is a hook to get you to really believe that he has a black agenda for you. It's the same thing with Trump and that Trump urban initiative. My boy Bruce used to be on a Black Man for Bernie campaign, got suckered into leading into that mess, and none of that stuff came true. None of it. Well, Biden, he worked for Obama, so it's going to come true. No, it's not going to come true because Obama didn't do nothing. Obama didn't even have a black agenda for you. Obama bent over backwards to do whatever they can for gay rights. And Joe pulled them into that pit. Pulled him and Hillary into that pit. They couldn't do nothing after Joe pulled them in. Is it because they really care? No, it's about power. What I need to do to get the power. Whatever I need to do to get the power, I'm willing to do it. I ain't going to go 100%. I'll make them think I'm going to do it, but when I get that power, I'm not doing that mess, man. Get out of here. Now let's look at this thing. Oh, by the way, I am here on camera. I just got that up because I'm not in my normal zone where I want to do a show. I'm going to do this strictly audio. And then we're going to go over this plan. So you do see my face up here, right? But I don't want to show my face today. And you see me with my headphones and all that. Broke down the headphones, a whole 9 yard. But yeah, I'm here. So look, we got to really get into this. And I'm going to take my time. It pisses me off when I see that you trying to present yourself as really doing something for somebody. And then when you look at what you're really doing is to benefit you, not the people who you claim is going to benefit. We're going to fine tooth comb through whatever they call it. We're going to do this just to make sure that we can get you to realize that Joe Biden is not on your side. Trump is not on your side. You got two bigots, two racists, two liars, pathological liars at that, with rape allegations currently at the moment. Yet you figure you got to pick one of the two. Shame on anybody who think they got to pick the lesser of the two rapists. Shame on anybody who think they got to pick on the lesser of two liars or the lesser of the two bigots. I don't want no bigots. I don't want no liars. I definitely don't want no people that commit crimes to be in that freaking office. And you shouldn't either. And you ought to be ashamed of yourself if you think you got to take, yeah, I'm coming at you. You should be ashamed of yourself. Somebody got to get the power. Yeah, but you ain't got to be the responsible. But, you know, a vote for, if you don't vote for Biden, you giving Trump your vote. That's a lie from the pit of hell. I can say the same thing. If you don't vote for Trump, you giving your vote for Biden. I gladly give my vote. Get out of here with that stuff. Your vote is tabulated, which means if I don't vote, you can't count my vote in the tab. And the way I see it, whoever you support, what they do once they get in the office is on your hand. The blood is on your hands. Everybody who voted for Trump and the stuff that's been going on in this election, the blood is on your hand. But yet, if Hillary Clinton would have won, and she definitely was already talking about us going to war in so many ways, shape, and fashion, the blood of your soldiers that would have fought in those wars would have been on your hands. Right now, the people who are suffering from cancer and brain damage and all that stuff in Flint, Michigan hand is not only the governor's fault of Flint, Michigan, but it's also Obama's fault for not doing nothing about it. And most of those people are black. Oh, can I get some water? Look here. Somebody give me some water. Man, he barely took a sip out of that water because he knew he couldn't trust that water. Oh, fight. I'm not trying to do a demonstration here. I'm just thirsty. I've been talking all day. Can I get some water? Yet to this day, them people still, they have not changed the lead pipes. They not overhauled the system. They have not did whatever they can to clean the lakes and the rivers. Nothing. And you think, well, we get Joe Biden, things are going to be better. How? You go look at Joe Biden. Let me get off this, man. I can go into Joe Biden, super Republican, never on the side of the people's record. And you've been fooled that he's going to have your back because he's been hanging around Obama. You always go by somebody's record. You know, Obama didn't have that record. And even then, Obama did some good things, but there was a lot of horrible things, more bad than good. But most people don't know about it because they never look at the person's record. They never looked at how their policies. So many innocent kids, so many innocent elderly in Middle East died because of Obama's drone strike program. 97% of every bomb that was dropped, he dropped so many bombs that we ran out of bombs. Most of those bombs killed innocent kids. Majority of them are considered North African. You want to say black, you want to call Middle East, doesn't matter. They're still human. Majority of those people died. Hundreds of thousands, pretty much almost 1 million young kids, young elderly, died. Let's go over this plan. We're going to go over this plan a little bit, okay? All right. Give me a moment. That's my beautiful family. My beautiful family. Beautiful family. All right, so here's Joe Biden's campaign website. Lift every voice, the Biden plan for Black America. All right, of course, they're trying to get you to give some money because Joe's is broke. Lift every voice, the Biden plan for Black America. Joe Biden knows that African Americans. Now, what I want you to do is count how many times he say African American. This is a Jedi mind trick. This is designed to make you think that this plan is about Black people, in general, African Americans, in general, people who've been here since the foundation of this country, Black people. Joe Biden knows African Americans. That's one. You do understand Joe Biden knows African Americans because white supremacists study Black people to learn how to control them and even learn how to eradicate them. That's what white supremacists do. Joe Biden knows that African Americans can never have a fair shot at the American dream so long as entrenched disparities are allowed to quietly chip away at opportunity. He's running for president to rebuild our economy in a way that finally brings everyone along. And that starts by rooting out systemic racism. Now, let's stop here. How Joe Biden going to root out systemic racism when Joe Biden created the crime bill, one of the most racist pieces of legislation in U.S. racial history? That piece of legislation gave cops the authority to do stop and frisk before stop and frisk became a term. That piece of legislation not only gave them the opportunity to stop and frisk you, that gave them the opportunity to stop you at will, throw you on the ground, slam you on the wall, check your pockets, and if they want to, put something in your pocket, arrest you, and send you to jail. That plan incentivized states to put you in jail for a long time and profit off you. That plan, in that speech Joe Biden did with the in Congress about his bill, he called Black people super predator. That Hillary Clinton just picked up on that after Joe Biden said. He said, we have super predators on the street, and yeah, we caused this problem, but it's too late to fix it. We need to get all these Black Negroes, he didn't say it like that, we need to get all these young Black people off the streets. Do you realize that Joe Biden in that speech painted Black youth as bad guys, thugs, and then you got the media and music just adding on top of that. Do you realize that that made white society fear us even more? How many of you black guys ever walked? This is back in the day, you know, how many black guys ever walked next to a car and they roll up their windows and lock their doors? I've had that happen so many times. It will piss me off. It would piss me off to the point that one day I got fed up and I said, since you're gonna lock your door and since you're gonna roll up your window, I might as well just act like I'm gonna do something. So this older couple, they was riding down looking for a parking space in the mall. I'm going to the mall, just getting out the car, walking to the mall, and all of a sudden they had to stop sign, you know, in the parking lot, the turn, and all of a sudden they see me coming up by their car. They roll up their window. So I got mad. And I said, "Oh, don't nobody want your Geritol, Grandma and Granddaddy." You know, don't know what. I was pissed off. Joe Biden did that. The way he painted black youth in the 1993 crime bill and his P.T. Barnum Bailey of selling it was very effective to the point that it drew Republicans in. And see, that's what Biden does. Biden is a good ally to Republicans. That is no good for you who need help for your people. Because Republicans are always trying to throw disparity among black people. You got to have an ID to vote, and you got to do this to vote, and you got to do that to do it. So no, Joe Biden is not the one to root out systemic racism, and having a black agenda can only do that so much. Racism is something that is born in a person's mind and heart, and that cannot be erased unless radical change comes, not just from somebody getting into their mind and heart, teaching them how not to be racist, but they have to make a decision that they don't want to be a racist. Joe Biden's going to start that by rooting out systemic racism. That is a freaking joke. I mean, whoever wrote this need to be smacked in their face, and I hope it's not a black person. See, black people, we forget. We forgive and forget too quick. I'm a person, I'm quick to forgive and I'm quick to forget you personally doing something to me. But when you have a history and you have not repented for that history, then you're doomed to repeat it. Joe Biden still holds the 1993 crime bill as his best achievement, his #1 policy that he passed. He is proud of that. But as a young black man, you can't be proud because you became the target of that particular piece of legislation. You, me, your kids, my kids, and to this day, we're being targeted. To this day, we're being targeted on the streets. Now, let's get into this. The mission is more important now than ever before. As the health and economic impact of COVID-19 have shined a light on and cruelly exacerbated the disparities long faced, here it go again, by African Americans. In April 2020, Biden called on the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to collect more data regarding how COVID-19 is affecting communities, including breaking down its impact by race. Now, you say that, but how did we know? How do we know that Biden actually called on the CDC to collect more data regarding COVID-19 among communities, including breaking down its impact by race? You say that, but we don't know. And if he said that, who advised him? Because he definitely didn't come up with that on his own. And believe me, there's people telling Biden that he needs to say something or do something here just to show that he cares when he really don't care. The disparities faced by African Americans. That's the second time they said that. The data we've seen so far suggested that African Americans, that's the third time, are dying from COVID-19 at a higher rate than whites. Now, who told us that lie? Just because they say it doesn't mean it's true. White society and white supremacists always want to make sure that they are on another level than blacks, than Latinos, than, you know. Right now, I'm going to deal with black. I'm going to keep Latinos out of this, okay? Because they are being pushed in this black agenda, and you're going to see that. If you got a black agenda, guess what? It's for black people. It is not for Latinos. It's not for Italians. It's not for white people. It's not for gay people. It's for black people. You may be gay and black, but it's not because you gay. It's because you black. The plan said, lift every voice, the Biden plan for black America. Now, we already seen here, this is the third time that he says African Americans. Now, not all black people are African Americans, number one. And if you want to get down to the root of it, are you talking about American descendants of slaves? Because not all black people are African Americans. You got black people from Africa that never been an American. You got black people from the West Indies. You got black people that come from South America. Black people are all over the freaking world. Black people have grown up in all, been born and grown up in all areas of the world, and a lot of them has moved to America. So are you saying African Americans, or are you saying black, Joe? But each statement says African Americans. Not all black people come from Africa. You realize there was dark-skinned Native Americans that they considered them black too. So let's get to the point, Joe. Are you talking about American descendants of slaves? That aspect of black people, black America? Are those the African Americans that you talked about? Because according to white history, we came from Africa, the American descendants of slaves. But we're going to go into this a little more. So how many times he said African Americans in this? African Americans are dying from COVID-19 at a higher rate than whites. Who says that? What piece of paper? And even if they had a piece of paper, who's to say that is true? Just because white society, white medics, white philosophers, white data crunchers, just because they put that on a piece of paper doesn't make it true. How many black people have you spent time with? How many black people did you count off in the hospital? They would never say whites are more susceptible to these types of disease than blacks. But the only disease I've seen them say that was maybe skin cancer, because our color, it's kind of hard for us to get skin cancer. But yet, as colored people, we don't get enough vitamin D. So just because the system said it don't mean it's true. But again, they're going to always paint us as the degenerate, low on the totem pole. Let's get back into this. So it say the data we've seen so far, this is Joe Biden administration. So Joe Biden administration say, what we've seen so far is that you are the worst victims of COVID-19. How a disease come from China that got here from China, went over to Europe, and the Europeans, it wasn't the Chinese, it was we locked China down when we first found out about it. Chinese people wasn't coming here. But it was the European who America loved to allow to come here freely. Whether you got a visa or not, you're European, you're white or whatever, you can come over here, no problem. How is that going to make it, how that disease that come from China, migrate to the United States through Europe, end up making black people the worst ones to be affected by it? Well, that's what they say. And you believe what they say. You believe everything the government tell you. I don't trust the government. I don't trust the CDC. I'll listen to the basics, but I'm going to do some research myself. I'm constantly up at night researching because I don't trust what my government tell me, because my government has a history of lying, and their leadership has a history of lying, and most of their leadership are confessed liars, like Mike Pompeo, who say he teach people how to lie, cheat, and steal. Again, Joe Biden said, according to the data that we've seen so far, African Americans are dying from COVID-19 at a higher rate than whites. Way to make us look like we're inferior, Joe Biden. And if Trump said the same thing, way to make us look inferior, Donald Trump. But here's the deal. You guys just as bad as on catching it. Y'all weren't saying that when all those Italians were getting killed, dying of this disease. Black people wasn't dying of the disease in Italy. Maybe in certain regions of this country, black people may be getting it harder than some. But black people, African Americans, are not. I refuse to believe are the ones that's suffering from this. No, you're not going to sit there and paint that narrative. You're not going to, no, you're not going to do that. Joe Biden's not going to do that. Trump ain't going to do that. Stop listening to these people. A long-standing systemic inequalities are contributing to this disparity, including the fact that African Americans, that's the fourth term, right? African Americans are more likely to be uninsured and live in communities where they're exposed to higher levels of air pollution. Here we go again, way to paint us in, like white people are not highly uninsured either. Like white people don't live in areas where there's a high level of pollution either. Here they go again, trying to paint us as degenerates. Here come again, African Americans, that's the sixth time, also represent an especially high percentage of the frontline workers putting themselves at greater risk to sustain the economy and keep the rest of the country safe and fed. All right, so you're giving us props that we are the ones that's out here what they call essential. White people aren't essential? See, there you go, always trying to divide us up as the white people are either lower on the good end or higher on the good end. Black people are never higher on the good end or lower on the good end. It's always we the worst. We getting it the worst. We live in the worst areas. We don't have insurance. Like white people don't have insurance either. That pisses me off when I hear how sly and slick these people are in their narratives, in their picture painting, in their storytelling of Black America. You wonder why racists look down on us sometimes. Sometimes it's our own fault. Sometimes we do some stupid stuff, but majority of the time, it's how white society has painted Black people all throughout American history. That's why I call it his, H-I-S, story. They're telling you their story. They're not telling you the true story. They're going to always make themselves look like they're the dominant ones in history and not us. And what we have to do as Black people, and even white people who love Black people, you have to help us in this, is be dog determined to tell the truth. I talk to you so many people up here. I tell you about the true Black Holocaust, how they killed more Black people in America than you can ever think about Hitler doing when it came to the Jewish people. Way more. Not discounting the Holocaust, but there were Black Holocausts going on in America throughout American history to this very day. If they can kill off 100 to 10,000 Black people at one time, they would. Let me get back into it. Here we go again. This is about the eighth time. African Americans also represent especially high percentage frontline workers putting themselves at greater risk to sustain the economy and keep the rest of the country safe and fed, and are less likely to have a job that they can do from home. So here we go. Black people can't work from home? Painting us out to be the normal worker. And we are. But there's just as many white people that are normal workers as Black people. There's just as much as Asian, just as much as people from East India, people from the Middle East. But they want you to think that you are the one that's getting it worse. The only way we're really getting it worse is when it comes to the bias in the system and when it comes to the money. But let me keep going. While there's a lot we don't yet know about COVID-19, we do know that equitable distribution of resource like testing and medical equipment can make a difference in fighting the virus. Biden believes this should be a priority and action must be taken now. Everybody believes that's a priority. Even freaking Trump believes it's a priority. Now here's the deal. When it comes to a black agenda, why you have to wait till a crisis happens before you start talking about a black agenda? So far in this whole piece of Joe Biden's Lift Up American plan, Lift Up Every Voice, which I'm not a real fan, I used to listen to that song every time the AM radio would go off on the black station. And then when I listen to the words of the song, it makes us feel like we're underlings, that we're still striving to be superior, or we're still striving for equality. And we are striving for equality, but you'll never strive for equality thinking that you're low at the totem pole. And this whole piece is a reminder where they believe you are at. And some of us are there, but that don't mean that we have to wake up to the fact that we need to start doing things to get us from the bottom of the totem pole. Because you are not, in your mind and in your heart, you are a giant. You're a great people. And nobody should be underlining you or undermining you in any way. No politician, nobody. Not even your favorite politician. This whole piece is undermining you. Let me keep going. Here we go again. It's either African American and COVID-19 and this whole piece of legislation that Joe Biden is talking about. I mean, this ticks me off, man. Pissed me off just reading it. COVID-19 is also having a disproportionate economic impact on African Americans. That's number 8. Sure it is. It is. But it's having an economic impact on white America too. Why are you still trying to put us in a separate bunch? African Americans, here's the word again, small businesses have been hit hard. And over 90% of African American owned businesses are estimated to be shut out of the initial relief program due to pre-existing systematic disparities in lending. This is especially dire given that African Americans, here we go again, families have less of a financial cushion to fall back on in hard times. Biden has been calling for the nation's relief and recovery effort to be equitable and just, including by design relief programs in ways that avoid methods we know lead to disparities in outcomes. Now, Biden was not on board with this. So I believe he's been taking advice from Sanders. Because Sanders is the only one that's been talking about these things. Biden have not talked about this thing the whole time he was running for president. Bernie Sanders has been talking about it, but I'm still kind of iffy on him. Because he's another one that's always paying us to make us seem like we're not equal. Now, he says we're equal, and he talked about how great of a people we are. But when you look at the underlying messaging, it's still showing black people are weak and white people are great. Let me keep going. 90% of African American owned businesses are estimated to be shut out of the initial relief program due to pre-existing systematic disparity in lending. This is especially dire given that African American families have less, here we go again, African Americans have less of a financial cushion to fall back on in hard times. So that gives us the implication that white people have more of a financial, now statistically that is true. And it wasn't because of COVID, it's because of a racist system that we have. And we got people like Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders, a whole lot of people that have continued to allow their donors or whatever to push legislation to keep the laws from changing to assist us in a whole lot of areas. They don't want to tackle hardcore black issues because they don't want to offend the rest of America. Because the rest of America think going to assume that we're getting special privilege. If anybody need to get special privilege, it ought to be black people. And it's not a special privilege, it's what you owe. It's what you owe. From the foundation, from Lincoln on to now, there has been a promise that you will give the equality, true equality, financial equality included, to black Americans. You've yet to do it. And this country is not free until you have it. You need to go out there and get your true equality. We are out here trying to get our true equality, but there's a racist system that's stopping us. A racist system that's stopping black people from getting the loans that they need, stopping them from building their own banks, stopping them from starting their own schools. A racist system that still is in place today. It ain't got nothing to do with Trump. Don't blame this on Trump. This has been going on way before Trump. This has been going on with Democrats and Republicans. Well, we need a seat at the table. Of course, run for office. I encourage you to run as a Democratic and a Republican. My thing is to hold you accountable to not be committed to the party more than you're committed to the people. And right now, we got too many numbnuts in office right now that's committed to party allegiance than the people that put them in office, Democrat and Republican. You got the CBC, the Coon Black Caucuses. Yeah, I said it. You don't like it, then you deal with me. Coons Black Caucus. People kissing white people behind, trying to get resources, claiming they're going to give it to the people of their community, and they don't even give it to them. Hello, James Clyburn. Hello, John Lewis. It hurts me to say that about John Lewis. John Lewis, when he was younger, civil rights icon, Edmund Pettus Bridge, fought for civil rights, but as soon as he became a legislator, he changed. And people get upset with me. You ought to be upset. I acknowledge what that man did in the past. But like Janet Jackson said, what have you done for me lately? Why are you still in office and you're not going to fight for your people? The point of your people putting you in the office is for you to fight that make systemic changes into the system, and you're going along with white master. Kissing all up to the Clintons, kissing all up to Biden, kissing up all the, and the same thing go with the black people in the Republican Party. This has got to stop. And the only way we stop this stuff is when we stop putting these people in office. You got to make a threat to them to let them know, look, bruh, I'm tired of you. I'm looking at your record, you ain't did jack. And you want me to give you another year of not doing jack? I mean, come on, let's be truthful. A wife who have a husband that used to do great things for her and all of a sudden he don't want to do nothing, there's the temptation for her to leave that Negro. And if another person come and give her the very thing that he didn't give her, she will be tempted. Not saying she would, she'll probably be committed, but she'll be tempted. But when that man turn around and start abusing her, it's time for her to go. I want y'all to get that, because neither one of these parties are doing anything for you. And most of them, especially the Democratic Party, people say, why you don't get on Republicans? Because Republicans are lost. So I don't expect Republicans to do anything. They're not the party of working people, and they definitely not the party of black people. I expect, the reason I come down hard on Democrats, because they claim to be the party of working people, claim to be the party of black people, and you look at the record, they turn their back on the working people, and they turn their back on black people, but we keep blindly voting for them, and nothing's changing. And here come Puff Daddy talking this talk. We tired of y'all taking advantage of our vote. It's a business transaction. Welcome to the party, bruh. I've been talking like this ever since I was a kid. Ever since I was a kid, I've been talking like this. Let me get back to this. African American families, communities, and businesses. Biden has been calling for the nation relief and recovery effort to be equitable and just, including by designing relief programs in ways that avoid methods we know lead to disparity outcomes so that funds can actually reach American families, communities, and small business. It's the same thing Donald Trump did with his Trump and Urban Initiative, and he did move on some of that. I got to give him credit for it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie for you or nobody. He did give money to the communities, but it was certain things attached to that in order for that money to come to the communities. And the same thing is going on in this particular platform that Joe Biden is trying to push: attachments. And one of the attachments is white businesses going into black communities to give black jobs, instead of him giving the money to black businesses in the black community to give jobs. He's allowing everybody to get some. Same thing Trump did, but let me get back into it. Let me read this paragraph again. COVID-19, again, they're making this about COVID-19, is also having disproportionate economic impact on African-American families. They go to African-American word. Here it come again. African-American small businesses have been hit hard, and over 90% of African-American owned businesses are estimated to be shut out of the initial relief program due to pre-existing systematic disparities in lending. This is especially dire given that African Americans, here you go again, family have lost a financial cushion to fall back on in hard time. Now understand this, the reason they're putting African American in here so many times is because words are images. If I say dog, you just saw a dog in your mind. If I say cake, you see a cake. If I get specific and say chocolate cake with coconuts on top, you see a chocolate cake in your mind with coconuts on top, because words are pictures. Words are images. So what he wants you to do is he wants you to get that this particular policy is a African American policy. So he'll say it, I don't know how many times, embedded in your mind. So when he get to the part where you find out it's not about African Americans, you don't see it. That's Jedi mind trick, reverse psychology, that he and his policymakers, a couple of them black, Simone Sanders and all them, are doing a witchcraft trickery on your behind, making you think that this policy is about black people, African Americans in specific. Biden has been calling for nation relief. Everybody was calling for nation relief. It's not impressive. Recovery effort to be equitable and just. Everybody been doing that, including by designing relief programs. Relief programs do not change the fact that there's still inequality when it comes to black wealth. The thing that's keeping black people from having just as much as white people is the income disparity, not income disparity, it's the wealth gap. There's a difference between income and wealth. Okay? You can have wealth without income. Income means money coming in, especially when talking about money income. Wealth, the ability to invest, to get a return on investment. Buying land, purchasing homes, doing commercial, getting government contracts and things like that. A relief program won't do that. But he said, including designing a relief program in ways that avoid methods we know lead to disparities in outcomes, so that funds can actually reach the African American families. Well, Bush did that. Obama did that. Clinton did that. And now Joe Biden want to do that. And guess what? Every time they did that, money did not come to the African American family. Why? Because they added a stipulation in there, and you're going to see that in here. African American families, African American communities, African American small business. Do you see how they're trying to make you think this is an African American policy? President Trump has not heeded his warning. Joe Biden has not warned Trump on anything. Joe Biden is not in the public sphere going toe to toe with Trump. He's not doing a rebuttal. He's not doing anything. If Biden were president today, he would make it a top priority and ensure that African American workers, families, and small businesses got the relief they need and deserve. Bush said that. Obama said that. Tackling systemic racism and fighting for civil rights has been a driving force throughout Biden's career in public service. Now, I went through video of Biden saying that he lied about that. That the closest thing he had to fighting for civil rights were what he did at a swimming pool with corn pop them. I got videos of him saying this. But because they know you are not a person that's going to investigate, you're not a person that's going to check on your candidate. You're just going to slut vote or vote for them because they're a Democrat, or vote for them because they were with Obama, or they got black people around them and stuff like that. That's what slut voters do. You're voting for people you don't know nothing about. You're going out with that lady and she done been out with 100 men, and now you're 101, and you wonder why you wake up with HIV or wake up with chlamydia or herpes. Because you don't know who that person is. Well, I'll be going out with a bunch of women, man. Hey, don't get it twisted. No, I'd rather be by myself, man. You're not going to hit me up. I don't care how old I am. Man, if I had it my way, if I didn't control myself, I'd probably have like 15 babies out here. I'd probably be a granddaddy by now. But no, I'm very, 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 very slow, very particular, and I'm gonna get to know you. Ain't gonna be no pushing in the cushion unless I know something about you. Biden has called for nation relief recovery effort equity, including by designing a relief program in ways that avoid methods we know to desperate outcomes, so that funds can actually reach African American families, African American communities, African American small businesses. President Trump has not heeded his warning. You know why President Trump haven't heeded his warning? Because President Trump didn't even listen to Biden, and Biden's not really saying nothing, and I don't think Biden even said that, so they need to stop. If Biden were president today, he would make it a top priority to ensure African American workers, families, and small businesses got the relief they need and deserve. Well, you can start, Biden. Even though I don't support bigots, you have a history of bigotry. Trump got a history of bigotry. Even if I don't support habitual liars, you're a pathical liar, Trump is a pathical liar. Even though I don't support rapists, alleged rapists, Trump got his rape allegations, you got your rape allegation, your inappropriate touching allegation. I would even think about voting for you. Think about it, because I don't really want to put anybody in office with that kind of record. If you stop this bull crap and just give people, black people, what should have been given to them over 200 years ago, reparations. You don't need a commission. You have the relationship with the Democrats and the Republicans that you can push legislation piece to give black people the money that this country owe. We don't really need you handing out all the time, because your handout usually don't benefit us. And this is a handout. Really, it's not even a hand up, because you're going to see this ain't all about black people in a minute. This is going to end up being about everybody by the time I get halfway into this. If Biden were president today, blah, 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 we went through that. Tackling systemic racism. See, their goal is they're trying to make it look like Joe Biden is going to develop a policy that's going to tackle racism. The man who created the most racist bill in U.S. history since Jim Crow is going to tackle systemic racism. I mean, what am I? Am I on a bizarro world? Am I on the opposite planet? You think just because Barack Obama made Joe Biden his VP? I mean, Tom Perez, come on, man. Well, Joe Biden, President Barack Obama picked him. He had to pick him. You don't just pick your VP. You get a team to pick your VP for strategic purposes. And the reason you pick a VP is because you need a VP that's going to cause you to win in areas that you know you can't win. So what's going on with the VP now with Joe Biden, and he haven't picked a VP because he had to pick a VP that's going to get him more votes. And President Obama couldn't get enough votes just for him. You can't win an election with just Democratic votes. You got to go outside. And at that time, Joe Biden had a relationship with the Rust Belt, Midtown, farm country, white people. He needed Joe Biden. He ain't picked Joe Biden because him and Joe Biden was my good friend. No, the good friendship came after. That was a strategic pick. You really believe this man who came up with the most racist policy since Jim Crow is going to tackle systemic racism and fight for civil rights? Well, those civil rights has been the driving force throughout Biden's career. Another lie, lie. The history of Joe Biden have no civil rights fighting. Maybe women rights fighting, but I told you a lot of time when you fight for something, it's because you got a problem for it. Your greatest advocacy is an issue that hurts you to your heart. Either you're struggling with it yourself or you know somebody who's been affected with that particular issue. He has a record of fighting for and delivering for African American communities. When? What I want y'all to do right now, if you are black, especially some of y'all don't like me, if you are black, I'm challenging my black brothers and sisters. Tell me some of Joe Biden's policies, because I've been over all of them. Show me some of Joe Biden's policy that he put in place that help African American workers, African American families, and small businesses. Don't talk about Obama's, talk about Joe's. Obama don't have that many. Talk about Joe. Show me, put it in there, put it in the comment section. Let's have a debate, people. Put it in the comment section. Joe Biden's record of helping African American workers, African American families, and African American small businesses get the relief that they deserve. Now, here's what they do. The media wants to paint the picture. That's why I wish my people will wake up. We get this TV image of a person because we watch the news, or we see them with their families and all that, and we assume they're good people. That's how we bought into the Ronald Reagan administration. His family, he used to be an actor, he speaks good, and he looked presidential. My mom would say he was acting the whole time. Show me Joe Biden record of helping the black community, helping black workers. Let me change that word. As they say in this piece, African American workers, families, small business. Show it to me. How he helped them get the relief that they need and deserve. Tackling systemic racism. Again, they want to paint Joe Biden to be the fighter for black people when Joe Biden have no history of fighting for equal rights, equal justice, none of that. Matter of fact, he fought against it. Matter of fact, he created policies and passed bills to make it harder for black people to fight. Tackling systemic racism and fighting for civil rights has been a driving force throughout Biden's career. You're lying. But whoever wrote this is lying to my people, and you ought to be ashamed of yourself. He has a record of fighting for and delivering for African American community. How and when and where? Put it down in the comment section. Challenge me, because I think you're lying. As a U.S. Senator, he co-sponsored the Civil Rights Act of 1990 to protect against employment discrimination and led multiple reauthorizations of the Voting Rights Act protecting American rights to vote. Now, understand this. If you were a Democrat and you didn't put your name on this thing, you were doomed to lose your election. You were doomed to lose the black vote. So there's some things you ain't got no choice but to sign. Doesn't mean that you really cared about it. You were muscled into it. You were pressured into it. You were what they call in the political atmosphere, whipped. That's the job of the majority whip or the minority whip. My job is to whip votes up for you. That's what Hillary Clinton did for Joe Biden. Hillary Clinton, as First Lady, whipped up votes for Joe Biden's crime bill. And Bill Clinton wrote it into law. He had no choice but to co-sponsor. A co-sponsor is one of the weaklings of a policy. Yes, look good on paper, I co-sponsor this. But you remember how many people co-sponsored the Medicare for All bill? Where they at right now? Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, all them fools supported the Medicare for All. Why? because it was popular. And if you co-sponsored it, it will help you gain votes. If you didn't co-sponsor it and you seem like you were against it, you will lose votes. So don't make it seem like this is something that they wanted to do out their heart. They had to do it. Joe Biden had to co-sponsor the Civil Rights Act of 1990. But yet in 1993, he created one of the most racist bills of all times. So sure. And multiple reauthorization of the Voting Rights Act protecting African Americans' rights to vote. There we go again with African American rights. African American. Biden also led effort to reauthorize and extend the Fair Housing Act as Delaware senator. That was so long ago. You got to remember why. Why did he do that? Black votes. Black votes. People will do anything to get that black vote. But deep down in their heart, was it really something that they really felt they need to do, or something they had to do? As Delaware Senator, he was also a vocal advocate and supporter of Delaware State University, the state historical black university. Now, please, is this all you got, Joe Biden team? The team that's coming up with this policy? Is this all you got when it comes to Joe Biden's record of service to black people? Because that's only a few things. And even those few things, it's a catch-22. If you don't support it, you can lose your seat and your career will be over. So you support it to seem like you're on team cool when you really, in your heart, you're not cool with that. Today, we need a comprehensive agenda for African Americans with ambitions that matches the scale of the challenge and with recognition that race-neutral policies are not sufficient responses to race-based disparities. Now we're going to go over the detail. Here's the bullet points of the Biden plan for Black America. Now, it went from African and Black Americans as the title to African Americans. There's a difference between African Americans and Black Americans. Like I said, not every black person comes from Africa unless you want to talk about genealogy. But yet there were dark-skinned people all over the world. We all then, all are not accumulated in Africa. The Biden plan for Black America will advance the economic. Now we've gone from African American to Black American. So that means if you're an American, no matter where you came from, this plan is for you. So that means ADOS community, American descendants of slaves. This is not strictly just for ADOS. This is for anybody that's in this country as an American that's black. Advance the economic mobility of African Americans. Now they're going back to African Americans. And close the racial wealth and income gap. Well, the only way you can close the racial wealth and income gap, Joe Biden, is you have to give $10 to $12 trillion in reparations to the black community. That's the only way you can close the wealth gap. Your programs are not going to close the wealth gap. Giving us loans will not close the wealth gap. Business loan, home. How are you going to close the wealth gap when you're giving me loans and you owe me money? Expand access to high quality education and tackle racial inequality in our own educational system. How about making sure every black person get Medicare for all, especially every American descendant of slaves, get no cost education. And when I say no cost, I mean no cost. Housing, no cost. Tuition, no cost. Books and supplies, no cost. Matter of fact, give them a stipend every month because you owe them. Make far-reaching investments in ending health disparities by race. Sure, you can make the investment, but how about give us the money and let us invest in our own community when it comes to health disparities? Because we can't trust the white medical industry, the white-led. Strengthen America's commitment to justice. How in the hell are you going to make a commitment to strengthen American justice when you the one made it worse? Black people, how you buying this bull crap? This man put your uncles in prison, put your aunties in prison for some of the dumbest reasons. Your uncle was standing next to somebody that had some weed. You both went to jail for that. And you didn't even know this guy had weed. They both got the mandatory minimum. Make the right to vote and the right to equal protection real for African Americans, like it's not now. Address environmental justice. All right, so let's get into this. Advance the economic mobility of African Americans. There go their word again. Close the racial gap and income gaps. Okay, we're going to see how they plan on closing the racial gap and the income gap. Let me get on this picture so y'all can see my face. Approximately 4% of small business owners. All right, so we got to go through this story to get to the point. Approximately 4% of small business owners are African Americans. They got that key word. 4%. Now that's a problem. 4% of small business owners are African American. Why is 4% of small business owners African Americans? Because you have put in stipulations to keep majority of the majority of the money in the banking industry away from black people. Even though African Americans make up the 13% of the population, to build wealth in the African American community, we must invest in the success of African American business and entrepreneurs. How about you stop this "we must do"? This country is not trying to do nothing for regular people. You want to talk that talk to get the votes, and as soon as you get the votes, you're going to stab us in the back. How about we tell you that if you want our support, you're going to commit to reparations. We don't need you to give us loans and stuff like that to start our businesses or whatever. You owe us money. You got it. You sitting up here giving these airline industries and all these other industries trillions of dollars to continue to pay their workers. And if they do right by it, they don't have to pay it back. Why you can't do that for black people? Why you can't give us money so we can put it back in the economy? There's one thing you know about black people. Black people, we spend money. We save. We do invest. Don't let them fool you and make you take, oh, black people, we're going to spend our money on gold teeth and buy cars. Okay, we buy cars. We help out the car industry. We buy a house. We help out the housing industry. The point is, you owe us money, and you need to invest in the black community by giving the people the money. The people. To build wealth in the African American community, we must invest in the success of African American business and entrepreneurs. No, you must invest in the people and let the people invest in businesses and entrepreneurship. We're not going to be falling for, you're going to give us some money based on this stipulation of starting businesses your way or become entrepreneurs your way. It ain't about your way. Give us the money you owe us. Invest in us. Give us the money you owe us without expecting a return, and let us invest in what we believe is right for our community, not what you believe is right. Let's keep going. Ensuring equal access to credit and capital. Here we go. We don't need credit, bro. I mean, credit is good, but nothing speaks better than money, cash, moolah, dollar bill, y'all. This country owes every Native American black or ADOS money. If you accumulate 40 acres and a mule today, that would be so much freaking money, it'll make your head spin. We don't need your credit, and we don't need your capital. We need your money that you owe us. We don't need money that you're going to loan us. We don't need credit. African American businesses often lack the capital they need to succeed. African American businesses are rejected at a rate of nearly 20% higher than white-owned firms. Why is that? It's because of the laws that you pushed, Joe Biden. You repealed you repealed um, uh, you put in the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, you repeal Glass-Steagall, you fought on the side of white supremacists when it came to the financial industry. You didn't fight on our side. Even worse, African Americans, here you go again, African Americans make it seem like this is all about black people. Businesses that do get funding receive only 40% of the funds requested as compared to 70% of white businesses. Why is that? And what are you going to do to fix that? That other ones didn't do before. To increase investment in excess capital, Biden will double the funding for state and small business credit initiative. Biden, we don't need you to give us the funding and credit. We don't want your credit. We don't want your loans. Because you expect a payback from black people. No, you give us what you owe us. Every Native American black person is due collectively $10 to $12 trillion. No, we don't need credit or capital. We need the money that you owe us. You can consider that capital, but there's nothing attached to it. The real key is to give the money to the people and let the people give the money into the community. You ain't calling no shots in this. Double funding for state small business credit. The Obama-Biden administration created the State Small Business Credit Initiative to support small businesses, driving $10 billion in new lending for each. Here's that key word. The Obama-Biden administration started a state small business credit initiative to support small businesses. In other words, we're going to give you a loan, which you're going to have to pay back because it's a loan, it's not a grant. Driving $10 billion in new lending for each $1 billion in SSBCI funding. Now look at that word, $10 billion in new lending. Lending. You don't close the wealth gap through lending. The reason whites have more than blacks is because they built up their own capital. They made money on the backs of black people and they stacked that money. It wasn't going to too many banks, going to get too many loans. And if they did, the stipulation for them to pay back was eased. Some of them even found a way not to pay it back, which added more in their pockets. Lending. Biden will extend the program through 2025 and double its federal funding to $3 billion, driving close to $30 billion to private sector investments to small businesses, all told, especially those owned by women, and here's the key word, and people of color. It didn't say owned by black women. It said owned by women. So $30 billion of private sector investment to small business, all told, especially those owned by women. It didn't say black women. It said women. That could be white. That could be Chinese. It could be Asian. It doesn't matter. And people of color. People of color. Now they done move from black to African American to people of color. I'm gonna let that sink in because people of color do not mean black people. Yeah, they used to call us colored people in the 60s and 70s, but people of color are people that's anything but white. And then when them putting women there, that could be white women, black women, Asian women. So this has moved from an African American plan to a plan for women in general, no color attachment to it according to what I'm seeing. And when they say people of color, that's all colors. So they're going to Jedi mind trick you into thinking that this is a black plan when this particular one Double the funding for State of Small Business Credit Initiative will be made available not only to so-called African Americans, but to women. Again, there's no color attached to that, which means even white women. So you telling me the money that you plan on getting for black people, you're going to give it to white women too? You're going to give it to Latinos? You're going to give it to Asians? You're going to give it to people of Middle Eastern descent? I thought this was for black people. No, this is for all people. This is no different from Bernie Sanders' plan. Like I said, I ain't got no problem with Bernie Sanders' plans, but we need some black plans before we get into some of these Bernie Sanders plans. There's special needs that we need that everybody can't get. I'm sorry. You just can't. But we're not going to get our true equality until you do. A lot of people come into this country getting way more than black people. And we know what's available, but they make it hard for us to get it. But you come in from another country, you get it no problem. You come in from Korea, start a business, 7 years tax-free. You live here in America, you start a business, you're not getting 7 years tax-free as a black man. Get out of here. Let's keep going. Here's the second one, bullet point. Expand the new market tax credit. Here we go, tax credit. Make the program permanent and double the community development financial institutional funding, CDFI. Here we go. The new market tax credit has helped draw tens of billions of dollars in new capital to low-income communities. Now, low-income community doesn't mean black community. You can have a trailer park full of white people. That's considered a low-income community. You can go to certain parts of the Bronx. Most of them are heavily Latinos, heavily Jewish, heavily Chinese. That's considered low-income community. They ain't got nothing to do with black. Providing tax credit to investors in community development organizations that support everything from supermarket to real estate projects to manufacturing plant as part of his plan to invest in communities across the country, including rural areas. Give me a moment, guys. We'll get you back up on the screen. Providing tax credit to investors and community development organizations that support everything from supermarket and real estate project to manufacturing plant. As part of his plan to reinvest in communities across the country, including in rural areas, Biden will also double the funding for the Community Development Financial Institution Fund, which supports local, mission-driven financial institutions in low-income areas around the United States. This builds on Biden's proposal to support entrepreneurship in small towns and rural areas by expanding both the rural micro-entrepreneurial assistance program and the number of rural business investment companies to help rural business attract capital. In other words, this black plan will be open to white farmers and people in rural areas who own small towns, small mom and pop shop. Again, it started off like this was going to be a black American policy to lift up the black community, and it ended up looking like it's adding more people to the community other than black. Next one. Improve and expand. This thing is long, so I'm going to have to do a two-part on this, okay? Improve and expand the small business administration program that most effectively support African-American owned business. Now, stop there. Improve and expand the small business administration's program that most effectively support African-American owned business. The SBA program has been and remain one of the most effective ways to access capital for African-American owned businesses. Biden will strengthen these existing programs. How? By ensuring SBA has the funding it needs to support African-American owned businesses and others in current crisis and beyond. Here we go again. Ensuring SBA has the funding it needs to support African-American owned businesses and others in the current crisis and beyond. So in other words, anybody. How you think you're going to lift the wealth gap between whites and black, and when you taking everything out of when you're making this for everybody. Trump has once again proposed a massive tax cut of 25% in the SBA budget for the year 2021, including 35% cut in funding to small business development centers, 20% cut to the SBA microloan program, and significantly increased fees for a 7A loan program, which is Small Business Administration main loan program for small business. Okay, he's doing some cuts. Not good, but hey, that's what you get for making this about everybody instead of just African Americans. Next bullet point, making permanent the successful Community Advantage Loan Program, originally created during the Obama-Biden administration. They want to put that Obama-Biden administration because they want you to think that Biden came up with this. It's really during the Obama administration. The program, which provides capital for startups and growing small businesses located in particularly undeserved communities. Now we went from low income to undeserved community. What is an undeserved community? Put it in the comment section and let me know. Undeserved communities. So you're telling me there's communities that don't deserve to have access to this stuff? Through CDFIs and other mission-driven lenders has been run as a pilot program since 2011. Biden will make this program permanent and reverse the rules enacted by the Trump administration that are making it more difficult for lenders to participate in the program and lend to African-American-owned businesses and other businesses located in undeserved community. Hear it again. He wants to use us as an attraction piece for other people. Now I'm going to stop with that one. I'm going to do a part 2. This thing is long. So far, we see Joe Biden trying to make it look like that he's coming up with a plan to lift up black people. When in reality, he wants to use this plan as a front to lift up all people. So once again, white supremacists, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, all these people, somebody who think they're better than blacks than any other color, is trying to use black people to get their agenda for all people. Done. This is sickening because he don't have a Latino up there. He don't have a Asian man up there. He don't have somebody from Pakistan up there, a Pakistani American. He don't have somebody from Dubai up there. It's a black woman. And all these women in the background are black women. Maybe 1 or 2 black dudes in the back, way in the back. All these black women up here, Joe Biden skinning and grinning, talking about lift every voice, the Biden plan for black America. And so far in this first part series of us breaking this down, we've seen him take this, paint this picture that, oh, this is for African American this and African American and that. But when you go deep into policies, it's for African American and other communities, undeserving communities, low income community, and others, for women and people of color and women. Anytime you hear women, that means any color, as long as they're females. Anytime you hear people of color, that doesn't mean black. That means Latino. That's why I had to stop using that term when it came to black and brown. I had to stop using that term. No, I'm talking about black people. Brown, we'll get to you later. We got to get our stuff done first. And the reason we haven't gotten our stuff done because we're always lumping ourselves with all people, and those all people are not lumping themselves up with us. Now it's time. The progressives are talking about tangibles now. Ain't that something? I heard Cal Kalinske talk about tangible on one of his votes. Well, every time I talked about tangible, other people talk about tangibles for the black community, people get nervous and, oh, why are we going to lose the election doing that? If we talk about a black agenda reparation, if any politician take that on, they're going to lose the election. Well, they're going to lose anyway. Dr. King said in his letter in Birmingham that telling us that we have to wait for our own agenda because you fear you're going to lose your position, that make you selfish. We're not waiting. We're not kissing your behind. We're not going to be falling for your old okie doke. We're not falling for that mess. You get a real freaking black agenda that the black community gave you, not your pollsters gave you, not your data people, not your team, which happen to have a few black people who telling you to give us some crumbs and we'll go for it. No, we ain't going for it. Black people are smart. You're not just going to throw a name up there and think, oh, Joe Biden got a black plan for black people. No, I'm going to break that plan down like I broke down Trump whack black plan. This black plan is whack. This is not about black people. This is for all people, and shame on you to try to hoodwink and fool my people. And black people, you need to wake up. He ain't got no black plan for you. A black agenda means black only. Don't be bringing white people. Don't be bringing white women. Don't be bringing Latinos in our plan. This is our plan. And no, you don't give us a black agenda. We give you the black agenda. And you campaign on the black agenda or you don't get our vote. And that's the way voting should be done. It's a strategic operation. Our community needs this. And if you're not willing to campaign on this, don't even look for our support. Oh, don't even get it fooled. I may be a registered Democrat, but I'm not committed to the Democratic Party. I only registered to vote for certain people in the Democratic Party that's committed to me. Now, I'm not saying me, I'm an independent. But I'm saying I understand some people who join the Democratic Party. They're letting you know, just because I'm a Democrat, that don't mean I'm loyal to you. That don't mean I'm going to do whatever you tell me to do. That don't mean I'm anything go. Now, I'm not in no freaking cult. And the same thing with you black Republicans. You need to let these Republicans, just because I'm a Republican don't mean I'm loyal to you. I'm not loyal to you. I'm loyal to what you're going to do for my community. I'm loyal to my community. If you're not going to do something for my community, then I don't care if you are a Republican. We got to don't come to me. If Trump ain't going to do nothing, or some of these leaders that represent my state or my local area is not going to help out my community, they ain't getting my vote. Now, the key to me is unregister yourself and send a signature to all these punk politicians that you got to come get my vote. I don't owe you nothing. I'm not aligned to you. I have no allegiance to a party. I'm independent. This is me, Rob. Let me get myself up here for a second. Let me take these headphones off. Let me let you know. I've learned this from Malcolm X. I have no allegiance to no party. Anytime you give your allegiance to a party, they have no reason to really do much for you. It's only when you apply the pressure. See, when the wife apply the pressure on the husband gonna do whatever he can if he really loved that wife. If somebody is showing their allegiance to you, you owe them the right to show your allegiance to them. I'm not going to be aligned and show allegiance to you, and you're not going to show that in return, not voting wise. Well, I'm not in a party. I'm a proud independent. And the more people we get independent, I know we got this third party thing going on, and we got the Green Party, and we got the People's Party, and Movement for a People Party. We got some people, Our Revolution, Breaking News, that's decided to join forces with them. I get all that. But me, I'm not showing any party no allegiance. I'm not joining any party. The best position to be is detach yourself from a party and show yourself as an independent and make these parties come get your vote. The less people are in a party, the more they need you. And they need you bad. When all the progressives lead the Democratic, especially black people, when black people lead the Republican Democratic Party and form a voting bloc and say, hey, you want to win? You want us to come vote for you? This is our list of demands. We want some tangibles. And if you're not able to campaign on those tangibles and fight for it, you're out of here. I'm not voting for you. Get up out my face. I'm not playing. Too many black people have sold them souls to the Democratic Party, telling people we need to get on the bus, give Joe Biden a chance, stuff like that. You actually gonna sit there and tell me, a black man who've been victimized by Joe Biden policy add that to support Joe Biden racist, bigot, lying, rape allegation self. No. Well, you must gonna vote for Trump. Who told you that? How you gonna assume that? Well, if you don't vote for Biden, you're voting for Trump. Who told you that lie? Votes are tabulated and calculated. If I'm not adding to that tabulation and calculation, then I didn't vote for, I'm not voting for neither one of them. You can't add my vote to Trump when I didn't vote for Trump. And I can't add a Trump voter. No, it doesn't work like that. Who told you that? How dumb can you be to think that freaking way? How dumb can you be to think that you got to vote for the lesser of the two evils? How dumb do you think you got to vote for the lesser of the two liars, the lesser of the two bigots, and the lesser of the two rapists? That is dumb, idiotic thinking. You shouldn't vote for neither one of those. I got to? Who told you you got to? You ain't got to do nothing. Voting is a tabulation, which means if you added that vote to that person on the left or that person on the right, anything they do while in office will be on your hand, will be on your head and your hands. If they go around drone strike innocent kids and blooded up the whole Middle East, their blood is on their hands, but also on your hand because you put them in the office twice. That's for the Obama supporters, including people that I love who have no clue who Obama was because they don't look at records. They only look at TV and him and his beautiful wife and kids and the smiling and the class and the perpendicular talk and all that kind of stuff. Just as bad as any other president, just as dominant and terrible as any other president behind the scenes, killing people left and right. Well, you know, we tortured some folks. We tortured some folks. We tortured some folks. Oh, well, you know, hey, we tortured some folks. You said that like it's no big deal. Dude, you tortured some folks. It's not some folks. That's that terminology to make you think it's comfortable. No, you tortured innocent men, innocent kids, innocent elderly people, all in the name of terrorism, and none of those terrorists were nowhere near that. Your army double tapped on innocent people when they didn't have to. Your military. And now Trump doing the same thing. All right, so that's part one of Joe Biden Lift Every America plan. It's not lift up, it's not a black agenda. It's not. It has a mask of black agenda, but if you pull the mask off, it's an agenda for all people. That should be a spit in your face, black people. Spit in your face. Robert Brown with a Robert Brown Special Rob Report. He ought to be ashamed of himself. Get your own part two.